Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. I'm Jill Bloom, Group Publisher of Roofing Contractor, and welcome to our Best of Success podcast show. It's always an honor to have with me Trent Cotney, partner with Adams and Reese. Trent, thank you so much for joining me.
Jill, it's great to see you again.
So, Trent, sounds like there's some updates from OSHA here that we need to all understand and take note of. What is that? What does everybody need to know?
Yeah, so OSHA recently updated its hazardous communication standard, or commonly referred to as HAZCOM. And these changes will go into effect July 19th. But to kind of give you an example of some of the changes that were made, as far as classifications go, there are now very specific criteria for classifying both physical and health hazards, of certain chemicals and chemical mixtures. Labels, as far as that go, and that's a big thing with HAZCOM, is manufacturers of chemicals are now required to provide labels that have both signal words, pictograms, and hazard statements for all classes of chemicals. So this applies to both manufacturers and importers. Again, streamlining sort of the process, making sure that you're shifting the burden there on the manufacturers rather than contractors to figure out what's what. Safety data sheets, SDS, these documents will now have a mandatory specific format required with 16 sections. Some of the statements that were made and during the process of making the standard is that a lot of safety data sheets weren't similar. They weren't apples to apples. So what they're trying to do is create a uniform SDS document, and it's got 16 different sections. And then training, employers have to explain the new labels in the data sheet. So anytime OSHA comes out with any rule, regardless of whether it's this or heat injury and illness when it comes out, or walk around representative rule that just came out, there always has to be new training on it. So again, this doesn't go into effect until July 19th, but HAZCOM affects every single contractor out there, regardless of what type of work you're doing. And it is something that OSHA will look for. They will either look for it on site, or if for some reason they're investigating your home office, or let's say there's a serious injury or fatality, oftentimes they'll look at your hazard communications on both your chemicals and what you're doing from a training standpoint. So always good to know, and make sure that you're updating your safety manual and your toolbox talks to reflect that.
Okay, so on these new forms, you're saying that there's pictures and there's other things that are mandated now that are on the labels.
Yeah, so the manufacturers they're now required to provide labels with signal words, pictograms, and hazard statements for all classes of chemicals. So, great example of this is if you're driving behind a truck that has, flammable material, you'll see the flame, and it'll have some, flammable or other stuff like that on there. There's already some requirements, and most manufacturers engage in things like this. Like if you
Right.
are shipping a lithium battery, there's
Oh, yeah.
information that goes on a package, things like that. What this is mandating is that all manufacturers and importers, so even if it's coming overseas, has to engage in those types of things. So you need signal words, pictograms, and hazard statements for any class of chemical whatsoever.
So what do contractors need to know? Do they need to make sure that they are showing that they're when on the job site, if those products are being used, that those labels are out so everyone can see them?
Yeah, absolutely. That has to be done. And they're also, like I said, there's got to be training on these new standards
Okay.
and helping employees understand what they mean. So, the idea behind having both pictures and words and statements is that, you give people an option to look at a variety of different things. And
Right.
I think it's important that you kind of explain what are the potential risks on a job site.
And where do contractors find the training to make sure that they're telling their people the right thing?
So they can always go to OSHA.gov. There's a great, communication statement that went out to announce the revisions that gives you sort of high level overview. But they can also look to either, third party consultants or their local association to see what training is available for that. Interesting. There's also a short video in English and in Spanish available on OSHA.gov that talks about the new HAZCOM standard.
Oh, very nice. Well, we'll make sure to add those links.
Great.
Excellent. Well, Trent, thank you so much as always for keeping us up to date to make sure that we're staying safe, especially with the new OSHA details coming out. And if anybody has any questions for you, where do they go? How do they find you?
Sure. They can email me at trent.cotney@arlaw.com or hit me up on social at Trent Cotney.
Sounds great. And if anybody has any questions for us, it's roofingcontractor.com, wconline.com, roofingsupplypro.com. or buildingenclosureonline.com. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for all our free content. Sign up for our e-newsletters, our websites, follow us on all our social media channels so you can stay up to date on all the great legal nuggets that Trent is always providing for us. But most importantly, stay safe and healthy, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. Thanks again, Trent.
Thank you.